Another week, another thing pros think should be standardized. Well, to be fair, it's still T-pads. Jefferson here, and as always, alongside me, the one with all the holes in his game, Swiss Cheese. And we're with the Disc Golf World, recapping everything you need to know from round 1 of the Open at Austin. Last week at Waco, there were complaints from some pros about the elevated T-pads that forced them to change their run-up. This week being another temporary course, T-pads needed to be brought in. Thankfully, they weren't raised, so there would be no issues, right? Well, of course not. And throughout the entire day, I heard various pros make comments about the situation. Even 2 top-level guys were talking, and I heard the statement, "I don't think any of these T-pads were leveled to begin with." Now, I can't confirm if that's true, but that wasn't the only time I heard something along those lines. Adam Hammis took it to Instagram to say, "We need standards. These T-pads are unacceptable. Big slip today. Result in tweaked hip and numb leg. Disappointed." One of the big problems I kept hearing repeated was the dips that were made from constant stepping in the same spot. This then resulted in T-pads being caved in the spot players would plant, messing up some shots. Another complaint I heard was when it came to wet T-pads. And as much as I wish there was a way to insta-dry them after a night of rain, that just can't happen. This is just one of those things that come along with temporary courses. Until there could be something permanent, I don't know if there would be one standard T-pad. I'm not a professional, so I can only believe that these small differences between each actually make a big impact on the elite players. So if there is as much critiques, maybe it should be addressed. I don't know what the solution can be, but Swiss had a good start yesterday on This Week in Disc Golf, so go check it out if you haven't already. But for now, he's got you covered with the FPO recap.
The conditions, though, fared better than anticipated. The FPO still had some wind and muddy conditions to cope with during the morning rounds. Most of the crowd were waiting to follow Kristen Tatar, but Kat Merch went and showed us why they name hurricanes after people. Took advantage early with a whirlwind of scoring, birdieing the first 3 holes and went 4 down through the first 5. Stayed clean on the hardest hole of the day that was averaging over par for the round. Stepped up to 7 and only threw it in for birdie 240 feet out, putting her at a 5 down. Kat would follow that with a double bogey on 9 and another bogey right after, only to play the par 5-11 masterfully with a drop-in birdie. From there, Kat allowed her putter to do the work. Had 2 birdie makes and a huge par save, all from circle 2 for 3 straight holes, starting on 13. She would lead the field in putting, only miss a single C2 putt on the day, and gain nearly 2 full strokes on the field from C2 and gain putting, and still added 2 more birdies to finish atop the leaderboard at 7 under for the day. Henna Bloomroos, trying to chase down Kat's hot round, was able to put a 6 under and finish 1 stroke behind the leader. Unlike Kat, Henna did her damage off the tee, however, leading in every driving statistic with the exception of fairway hits for the day, and still threw OB 4 times. Most importantly, though, she was able to avoid the dreaded double bogey, which kept her at the top of the round. I know some might chuckle at this next statement, but she's a C2 make away from being even more scarier. That being said, she might have just gone the Avelina route and not even considered anything outside of 30. The news you're all been waiting for, Kristen started as hot as Kat. After a par on 1, she would birdie the next 4 holes, as the morning crowd cheered her on. Like most of the field, the 2 most difficult holes on the course would cost her, with a bogey on 6 and followed with a double bogey on 8. Fortunately for the fans rooting on Tatar, she would not only remain clean for the remainder of the round, but scored 4 birdies to finish 5 under and in solo 3rd place. Tatar's approach and forehand looked solid. We have yet to see the mid-season confident putting stroke, despite hitting 2 C2 putts on the round. Katrina Allen rounded out the final card with a 4 under in what might have been her best round of the season thus far. She needs to clean up the damage on 6 and 8 and really needs to improve on the back 9, as she only went 2 under for the round. The race from there remains tight. You have 3 players all at 3 under knocking on the door, and Rebecca Cox, who was the only one to pick up a birdie on 6 today and can do some work in the woods portion of this course. Owen Scoggins, who should fare better if the wind lets down, a big if, but the wind today affected her both on the tee and putting green. And lastly, Evelina Salonen, who is just as strong as Henna off the tee.
Beth at 69.
I just told myself, you got to will this one in there. Whatever you have, just will it in there.
This man is unbelievable. This is what athletes live for. This is the moment.
Andrew Marweed kicking off the leaderboard with a hot 1081 rated round with no bogeys for a 10 under. He played clean, going 100% from C1X, going 11 for 11, as well as smacking 3 circle 2 putts, helping out his score. Marweed's biggest mistake was getting a par on the easiest hole in the course. Hole 11 is a 1,000-foot par 5 that every power thrower is licking their lips at. Corey Ellis would take advantage getting the eagle with the circle's edge putt. Along with 3 other C2 putts, he would drain going 4 for 9, while knocking down every C1X putt that came his way going 8 for 8. Corey did card 1 bogey on hole 4 after an OB drive, but from there went clean, finding himself tied on top of the leaderboard. Sponsorless Gavin Rathbun would find himself on another lead card, which is good after a missed cut last week. He would start his round slow, not getting his first birdie until hole 5, and then getting a few others, until Gavin will get the eagle on 11 and finish 4 down through the last 6 holes, for a bogey-free 9 down that puts him in solo possession of 3rd place. He would smack a 50-foot putt on hole 18 for the birdie and overall had a solid day on the putting green, although still left plenty of strokes out there to get. If he wants to stay near the top, he's going to need to capitalize while still taking little to no bogeys as he has already. Anthony Abrella would not have his ideal round, finishing the front 9 only 1 under par, but would turn it up when needed to. Starting the back half with a birdie on 10, a near bullseye for eagle on 11, and another birdie on 12. This would be the point the card would start getting backed up, and after the longest wait, AB would throw OB on hole 13, taking his first bogey since hole 6, but would quickly recover getting back-to-back bullseye birdies. And then, just to show us he can do it, hits from circle's edge. 2 strokes back in the lead and still lots of improvements to make, still a good place to be. Same goes for Calvin Heimberg, who decided to play the tournament this morning after lingering arm pain. There was a condition, however, that being no forehands.
If he had a forehand, he'd be great, but can't throw him right now.
And he admitted there were 2 spots that he could have used it that costed him a couple strokes. Calvin played a good round except for 2 holes. The double bogey on 6 was tough to watch, and on 18, the kick was brutal with the tight lines. He would finish with 1 eagle, 10 birdies, and 2 double bogeys. 8 for 8 from C1X, but made nothing from outside the circle.
The chase card is all tied at 7 under and 3 strokes off the lead. Nicholas Antala, fresh off yet another second-place finish, did not look strong early. Only had 3 birdies heading into hole 9, which he would take a costly double bogey on, resulting in a 1 under on the front 9. Made worse was he also had a warning called for excessive time use issued by a marshal, only for him to step up on hole 10 and bury the ace on the 315-foot hole, completely jump-starting his round. He would add 5 more birdies and was only a bogey away from being tied with AB and Calvin. Jake Hubenheimer, who already has one of the worst hat tan lines, took advantage of an early start time as her wins were still bad, but not nearly as bad as the later cards. He would take the lead with a 7 under himself, scoring 10 birdies on top of 3 bogeys. He'll need to improve off the tee, especially staying out of OB if he hopes to continue to push over the next 2 rounds. But he did have 2 big putts, one a 60-footer to save par on 13. Matty O, the veteran that he is, carved up the course and played some excellent golf. Only missed 2 fairways on the round, led in strokes gained tee to green, and had the least amount of bogeys on the day. Still dropped 9 birdies, including 5 straight at one point in the back half. Matty's in that dangerous position on chase card, and I would not be surprised if he can find himself on lead card for the final day. Listen, guys, just how many weeks do I have to mention Joey Buckets for more of you guys to sing his praises? He already has one of the best nicknames on tour, and he flat out can play with the big boys on tour. Joey had 10 birdies, 6 of which came on the front 9, cooled off on the back with 2 bogeys after adding 4 more birdies. He just quietly puts together consistent rounds, as he's one of the best to play to his strengths. He has found himself on 2 lead cards and now 2 chase cards on the short season. That's on top of a Worlds lead card last year. He is only going to continue to improve as he continues to hit fairways and put himself in scoring positions.
Rounding out the top 10, there is a 4-way tie at 6 down. The People's Champ makes a return after his lead card appearances last week. He went 10 for 11 inside the circle, and if it wasn't for 2 unfortunate OB strokes, he would be higher up. Speaking of a returner from last week, Mason Ford finds himself in the top 10 as well. He would also be a few OBs away from a better position, although he was finding success from C1X and even hitting some C2 putts after being cold last weekend, which included a 70-footer on hole 6. Linus Carlson would play a clean round with 7 birdies up into the last hole after an OB drive, which resulted in his first bogey of the round. Lastly, Ezra Aderhole would be tied for 10th, being the only person in the field to card the eagle on hole 5, yet would get a bogey on hole 11. Now some round 1 quick hitters. Brian Earhart slips up and predicts Ricky Wysocki to win the tournament. Too bad he took the weekend off. Holly Finley is the next victim of the 5-minute rule, getting an additional 2-stroke penalty. Silver Lott, well, he DNF'd. Emerson Keith chilling in the trunk of his car before the round. Evelina poses in this big hat. Andrew Fish does this to his face for reasons you'll have to go find out. The weather isn't looking great for tomorrow, so as fortunate as we were today, umbrellas might be a play round 2. Staying in bounds will be key for success. If players aren't taking bogeys, they are most likely gaining strokes on the field. Don't be surprised if we see high scores, but on the flip side, the rain is at low percentages throughout the day, and we could just get lucky again. If that's the case and the wind is low, I think this course has the chance to get attacked. The wind was messing with discs all over the fairway, and with OB as tight as it is, an air bounce could be the difference between 2 strokes, just like a tree kick in these woods. Which makes me think some players can turn around some big swings they had in round 1. Calvin sticks out to me in particular, with both of his breaks coming from those situations. Plus, his ability to play in rough conditions is almost unmatched. Add all the talk about him not keeping up so far this season, might just be what he needs to take down this event. But if you want to hear everything you need to know about round 2, make sure to subscribe to not miss out. That's everything from round 1 of the Open at Austin. If you enjoyed, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. It's the easiest way to support the boys while we're on the road. Oh, and if you want to know what the Disc Golf Pro Tour needs to investigate immediately, check out the video right here.